Alrighty. Hello. Hello and welcome back to Watchworthy. I'm your co-host, Miss Chris D.
And it's your boy, Brother Ash.
And we are back with another Netflix documentary. It seems like Netflix has the craziest ones lately. This one is from 2023, so this is brand new. We chose this documentary because a few folks recommended it to us, and the title is Escaping Twin Flames. So this is all about what we now know to be the Twin Flames cult, but they go by Twin Flames Universe. And so this documentary featured a lot of interviews with Twin Flames universe survivors. You'll hear us say their names: Victoria, Elle, Keely, Marley, Angie, Shanice, people who actually got out of this cult and are now open and willing to talk about their experience. Otherwise, without their stories, we wouldn't know what's going on.
I didn't know people still got into cults.
Yes. In 2023.
You would just think we would have enough documentaries on Netflix about cults that people know red flags about cults.
Yes. And I think that it's kind of like catfish, right? It's like, oh, you think, oh, it can never be me, but it still happens to people because it's really just mind control at the end of the day.
I'm going to make a wager that we have at least like 6 to 8 red flags.
Oh, there are going to be a lot of red flags in this episode, trust me. And that's why we came up with the poll question: what was the first sign that would have made you know that Twin Flame Universe is a cult? Because there are several signs right off the bat where I would be like, you know what? I don't think I want to join this Facebook group.
Yo.
We're just going to get right into it because there's so much
so
tea.
many different red flags where I'm like, I'm hoping that this is the moment where somebody says, wait, is this a cult?
Yeah.
But it just doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so 2 people that we need to worry about for this documentary. Their names are Jeff and Shaleia. All right, so they are a couple. Jeff was always into business ideas at a very young age. So he was like the type of person to always have like $1 million, scheme up his sleeve or something like that. So,
red flag.
Red flag, right?
Red flag, because it's like you don't really care about solving the world's problems. You just want to make money.
And that's what's crazy, because when you hear about this cult and you hear what they stood for like stuff like relationships, they even tap into religion, but his whole scheme is always money. Like, it's always money and business. So in 2011, he got out of business school and then he went to Hawaii. So he graduated from business school and he went to go torture Hawaiians with his narcissism. And like, I just picture him pulling up to Hawaii, like, just so arrogant and just like, so this guy, he has like a lot of personality and he just looks like a douchebag as soon as you see him. Like, he just seems like the bad guy in a movie, like the rich bad guy, you know what I mean? So he created an alter ego and was marketing himself as a lifestyle guru. Scam. Another red flag.
Red flag number 1. I'm sorry, but
what the fuck is a lifestyle guru?
Why did you go to college and everything just to create an alter ego and become a lifestyle guru?
He went to business school to become a lifestyle guru. That's crazy. So Shaleia, her real name is actually Megan. So she changed her name. And I think Jeff also had like an alter ego named Ender or something like that.
His alter ego
that was
named
because they met online. So she messaged Jeff in 2013 and asked her to marry him on the spot, like jokingly kind of.
Yeah.
So like I think Jeff actually asked Shaleia, yeah. So he asked her to marry him. And they like,
he was joking, but I think that tidbit, their love story just goes to show like these were 2 weirdos who got together online.
I was just about to say that they strike me as 2 weirdos, so like they just kind of rode this spontaneous relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
They turned this online thing into a real thing. In 2016, they got married and moved to Michigan together. Jeff has a few websites at this point. He made a lot of his money on websites, different websites, spiritual healing, sexual healing, all prototypes for the Twin Flames universe, right?
Yeah.
So before he was selling a cure for cancer.
Yeah.
So this motherfucker was selling a cure for cancer, like just here it is on my website.
Yeah. and the whole spirituality part, I don't want to have any shade to people who believe in like the chakras and the crystals and all that. But like the whole idea of twin flames came from like Shaleia's hippy dippy spirituality. And it just seemed like a bunch of bullshit to me.
Yeah. So even then, like he was even selling the idea of true love after the cure for cancer. So he basically was telling people to buy a book and like take the $200 a month classes.
Red flag. If anything, if it cost me $200 a month to find my true love, I think I'm gonna pass on that.
That's like $2,400 a year.
was crazy.
That's your tuition to fall in love. But I guess, what if you went to somebody like a hopeless love, a person, a sucker, whatever, and was like, yo, like, give me $2,400 and I guarantee you I'll find the love of your life.
Well, they do have such a thing. They call it matchmakers.
That's what
nowadays.
these people must have been believing, because I hate to sound insensitive, Miss Chris D, but like, I'm thinking to myself, this whole documentary, these people are stupid.
Yeah, I'm sorry to the survivors,
Like,
but they really, again, it just goes back to mind control. Like, you allowed a stranger on their internet to take your money and make you believe that they could help you find a, quote, harmonious union. That was their whole thing that they were
I do
pushing.
hope that they heal, because the shit was traumatic, but I'm thinking to myself, like, why are they letting this guy like take it so far?
Yeah.
So basically, by the end of his classes, he said you will get into something called a harmonious union.
Yeah.
And when I heard that phrase, that was another red flag for me. What is a harmonious union? Like,
They were trying to take it a step further than true love. Your twin flame is like your soul.
that sounds like some Lord of the Rings. You get this this tablet from this side of the earth and bring it to this podium of that side of the earth, and you bring the two items together and it's a harmonious union. Like, it's these two weirdos making up terms and getting people to buy their classes.
Exactly.
So then enter their first victims, Keely and Marley, sisters. So Keely met Kobe and they broke up. She found twin flames, basically was just searching online, like, you know, what is a twin flame? How do I know who my soulmate is? And then she comes across Jeff and Shaleia and things that they were talking about on Facebook. So she brings her sister in on it when her sister was just 18 years old.
And if I could stop you there, I feel like Keely is the perfect example of somebody who, like, you just went through a bad breakup. I'm sorry, but get over it. Like, you went through a bad breakup and you just move on like the rest of us. But instead, she just couldn't get over it. So she was searching for answers online. And that's basically how all these people got into this cult. Like, a bunch of people who were heartbroken.
And unfortunately, they were desperate. That's the one common denominator I found with all the victims of this cult. Because it was just like, if you could just accept to move on or whatever, or grieve this loss, whatever the loss was, like regular people should, instead of being fed lies about. I don't want to get too far into it, but like, it just goes like way too deep in this, and people really believe these people. Like, it was crazy. So Marley was interested in self-improvement in the aspect of like, more than that than like finding love. Yeah. But like, they were pushing like love. And
she's only 18.
Yeah. So like, Marley is this, you know, young, real sweet girl. And she's just following her sister's footsteps. So Jeff and Shaleia, so before you say this is some like white people shit, like, there was actually like some black people and some like
yes.
Like,
I think that is important to point out, because as we were watching the documentary, as soon as the black girl came on, we were like, oh shit. Like, I'm sorry, but normally when black people watch these kind of documentaries, we always say to ourselves, oh, that's some white people shit. But there were multiple ethnicities in this group.
And that's why I say it's more of a desperation thing too, because I'm like, it was multiple ethnicities, so I'm like, why are they able to like really just confuse these people like this? Why is this working? Like, I thought this was like something that doesn't happen anymore. I wasn't joking when I said that earlier. So basically, Jeff and Shaleia apparently had this special power where they could see your twin flame, like determine who your twin flame is, whether it was an Instagram message, whether it was, oh, somebody I used to like when I was in the 4th grade, right? So
red flag.
So you would, red flag for that. So even sometimes people would suggest something and they would just confirm it for you, right? So they told Keely and Kobe that Kobe was her twin flame and that she hadn't talked to him in 9 months.
So you're telling me my ex, who I haven't spoken to in almost a year, is my twin flame, and I'm just supposed to go get my man?
So this girl Keely goes back and like presents this twin flame stuff to this guy Kobe, and like he goes with it, and then they like they just basically promote them in the twin flames universe and use them as like
token
the
child,
TV, like the token couple, like they reach harmonious union. And it's crazy when because they show you videos and snippets of the Zoom calls. When they say that to people, like, oh, you reach harmonious union, they're like, oh,
yay. It looked so forced.
Harmonious union.
It definitely. Brother Ash even said when we were watching the documentary, like, that guy looks miserable. Like, I don't know why he decided to go along with it, because, you know, if somebody is finds this on their own, okay. But now you're bringing it to your sister and you're bringing it to other people and you're looping them in. If you brought that shit to me, I'll be like, babe, no.
and now her sister getting into it, right? So now they trying to tell her who her twin flame is, and the whole time, like, they like making people like, you know, post and share that, like,
it was very
on the
social
Facebook.
based.
So like they kind of like, this is something new. Like, you don't want to tell people, you know, you in this group where they telling you who your true love is, but they like, nah, go on Facebook and make sure you say, thank you, Jeff and Shaleia, for bringing us together through the Twin Flames universe. We've reached harmonious union.
It just seemed like marketing.
So they were pressuring them to make sure that they did that on the Facebook forum. So the group even created a Twin Flames housewarming GoFundMe for Keely and Kobe. And they were told to use the money for specific things, like what type of curtains to buy, what type of placemats to buy. Like they gave them money to move together basically, and then like controlled them. Like everything in this documentary is all control. It's all control.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think that when you ask, like, how could people go along with this? I think the monetary aspect, the girl spoke out and she was like, you know, they held this GoFundMe money over our heads. We couldn't let them down. Everybody's raised all this money for us, so we felt like we had to go through with it. But you're talking about a girl who was in her early 20s who felt like kind of pressured to marry this guy. And I guess, you know, people who are into that spiritual practice, I'm not into the tarot cards and everything, you know that. But if somebody told me like, oh, I can see your true love and it's him, I would probably follow that John too if I was her, you know? So I can see like why she may have felt a little bit controlled. But at the end of the day, you always got a choice.
yeah, and that's kind of my thing. It's kind of crazy to be like told that somebody is your true love, and it's like based off of nothing. They're not like, he don't have no tarot cards in front of him. He don't even like fake like a, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like
he don't fake no type
it.
of presence. He just be like, oh yeah, that person that just DM'd you yesterday, that's your twin flame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And you'll see throughout the documentary, they were really telling a lot of people to go chase their ex. Like, why would you do that?
Getting them in serious trouble too.
Yeah. So in the beginning, as Brother Ash said, this is all through Facebook at this point, a bunch of Zoom meetings. This is like 2019 going into 2020. So everybody was at home, you know, doing the Zoom meetings. And so the main tool that was used in the Twin Flames universe, everything that they were pitching in these books and these classes, was the mirror exercise. And basically the mirror exercise, it was very dangerous, y'all. It was so dangerous to be having people speak to themselves this way. That's why I got the Speak Life shirt on, because I'm trying to speak life. Because essentially the mirror exercise made people like take a negative thought and turn it back on themselves. So it was just a whole group of people just doing negative self-talk and talking down on themselves and getting deeper into their depression because Jeff and Shaleia said this is an exercise that we should use. Again, these people are not licensed.
Yeah, red flag. The mirror exercise was a red flag for me.
Yes, absolutely.
And somebody even said on this John, like, that's the whole point of a cult. If we don't have nothing to fix with them, the reason why they want to come back, they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
So let's just make them hate themselves.
No, that's exactly right. And so, as Brother Ash said, Keely and Colby, they were like one of the first. Really, they were one of the only couples that actually worked out from this whole thing.
They actually sound like they should be a couple though. Keely and Kobe.
They probably could have been a good couple if they did the traditional route and they didn't have all these external things going on. And so they decided, okay, since you guys are our first couple that worked out, we're gonna make you master ascension coaches, and we're gonna help you. You're gonna help people ascend to their highest level and help people find their twin flames.
I mean, like ascension. That almost sound like you want a brother to go to heaven.
Yeah, it's a red flag for me because now this is where the whole like multi-level marketing scheme comes into play, where now you have to get clients, you have to recruit people to join your team, and you're their coach. And so it was just giving cult vibes from the very beginning.
Pyramid scheme.
And so with this whole, you know, thing being happening online, they started to say, hey, we're actually making some friends from this group. Let's hang out in person. So they had an in-person meetup in 2018 in New York City. And even that, Jeff had to have control over. At first, it was just a Facebook group of friends who wanted to get together. Then Jeff took over and was like, no, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do here. So this is really a narcissistic man who just wants to have his hand in everything. He's not trying to help anybody.
Another unsettling character that we had to sit through
Yeah.
for the documentary. I just cannot believe there are people out here like this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's not like a documentary where you watch like some crazed killer in the 80s that almost got away with it. These people
These are internet
are
cult
just
leaders
out here. Like, it's just people. They just controlling minds, and it's wild.
And like you said, I hate to say it, but I feel like it's 2020. Why are you still doing this? Like, why are you still believing this shit? Again, no shade to the victims, but at some point you had to know this was crazy.
I was like, I would have been out, like.
And so, like Brother Ash said, these are spiritual gurus. They can channel people into the room. And so at this New York City meetup, that's when they tell 18-year-old Marley that her twin flame is a guy who's 11 years older than her with a criminal record, no job, and untreated schizophrenia. That's your twin flame.
Red flag on the play.
Yeah.
And another red flag, 2 red flags, because at this point, this is when Big Sister is supposed to step in and say, you know what, Jeff? I brought my little sister in on this, but that dude is, he a little off. I don't know about that. And that's the thing. That's my baby sister. She never did.
Unfortunately, these people didn't even have the wherewithal to go against Jeff and Shaleia and say, no, I actually don't like that person. That's not my twin flame. They just took their word at face value. And so Marley said in the documentary, like, I knew I didn't like this guy. I knew that he gave me creepy vibes, but it must be true because Jeff and Shaleia told me.
They were, like, afraid of them for some reason. Like, and they weren't really violent because most of the sessions were on Zoom.
Yeah. Well, that's my next point I wanted to make. Like, it really was about the shaming and, like, belittling people and making them feel less than. Yeah. Like, Jeff and Shaleia propped themselves up so much, people thought they were the shit. And so whatever they say goes. And if I don't comply, then something's wrong with me. That mirror exercise. Oh my God, the mirror exercise. I just can't. Because that was their answer for everything. It was like, well, have you done the mirror exercise? Word. No, you're not doing it right. You need to do it again.
And the mirror exercise is basically looking in the mirror and saying bad things about yourself.
Yeah. Literally. It's like, the mirror exercise is like, if I think, Brother Ash doesn't like me, you turn it around and say, no, I actually don't like myself. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
And that's supposed to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
And so that all ties into what they were calling these energy leaks. And you need to plug up the energy leaks. And maybe you're just having a blockage. And so they would even tell people, and this is what made it really culty to me, red flag, you need to cut off your family because that's an energy leak. You need to just block your family. And so they had an example of a woman named Stephanie. She has a twin sister, Paula. And it's so interesting to see twins in a documentary. One got into a cult and one didn't. And one is still in the cult to this day.
Yo, to this day.
Yeah, to this day. She's wrapped up in it. And Paula is like trying to piece together the evidence, trying to get her sister out of this cult. We even see footage of her calling the sheriff on the documentary to report them. Yes, please, free Stephanie.
Free Stephanie.
And so that was another example of just like, oh, I joined Twin Flames and suddenly I don't need my family anymore. I don't ever want to talk to my twin sister again. She missed the birth of her niece, everything, because you want to be in this cult. And so they were really preying on people who have family problems. And that's something that we've talked about in other documentaries. Just these narcissistic assholes preying on people with low self-esteem, desperation, family issues, trauma, what have you. And they just know where to find them and they know how to pick them. And so they really just encourage stalking, to put it lightly. Let's say me and Brother Ash broke up. Nah, Christina, that's really your man. And you need to pursue him. You need to do whatever it takes. You need to climb over walls, break into his house. They were actually pushing sexual advances, which really made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like the girl Stephanie, she would say, oh, I went on a date with a guy. And they'll be like, well, did you kiss him? Make sure you kiss him. Make sure you suck his dick. Like, they were really going hard.
Yo.
And I'm just like, that's not how you find true love at all. So they were pushing the wrong thing. They were not pushing, self-care and like self-love and, the love languages. None of that. They were just pushing, push yourself onto that man.
Yeah.
And we have to add that it was mostly women in the group at this time. I ain't see no men up in there. So it was a lot of desperate women. And so there was one person named Elle who was in the documentary. She probably had to be my favorite.
Shouts out Elle.
Her situation was sad. She had a good relationship. She was studying to be a scientist. She was in school, all this stuff. She got in a car accident that left her with spinal injuries. And she looked kind of fucked up afterwards, I'm not going to lie. And apparently her man couldn't hang and he left her after that. So imagine being at your lowest. Imagine going through a car accident, having a spinal injury, being at your lowest. And these people tell you, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's your twin flame. She believed that, John. And she pursued him relentlessly to the point where he got a restraining order.
He had to get a restraining order on this woman.
Now, we know that the law sucks and restraining orders don't typically do shit. But the way she tells it, she claims she ended up at the same club as him, not on purpose. That's what she said. And he saw her, he called the cops, and she got arrested for breaking her restraining order. And so she was.
God.
The whole thing is, you cut off your family at this point. You're in a cult, and you just got locked up. So you don't want to call your mom. That was a red flag. I'm sorry. I would have been called my mom. That would be the point where I get out of this cult. Okay? I tried it. I did the twin flame thing. It ended up with me being locked up.
I ended up getting in jail.
She was in jail for a month because she didn't want to call anybody because she was that embarrassed.
And guess who bailed her out?
Did Jeff and Shaleia bail her out?
Hell no.
Oh, yeah, it was her mom. It was her parents.
Her parents basically spent their whole retirement
I forgot
to bail her out. That should have been the sign right there.
So, exactly. Like Brother Ash said, she learned her lesson, right? She got locked up. She spent a month in jail. And what happened? She went right back to twin flames. And her parents were like, how dare you?
I'd have been like...
It's so
like,
sad.
Where the fuck was y'all at when I was locked up?
Yeah. It's really so sad that you just go right back to the thing that was hurting you. But Jeff and
my fault.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, Jeff and Shaleia, you think they were like, oh my God, Elle, we're so sorry that happened to you. No, they said, if you would heal yourself, then you could heal the relationship and this wouldn't happen. So they just told her to do the mirror exercise.
They flamed her. Jeff was like, and did you really go or did you?
Yes, y'all. He was basically trying to get this girl to admit that she was stalking on a Zoom recording so that he wouldn't be liable.
After he told her to stalk him.
Yeah. It was so fucked up. Honestly, parts of this documentary, I was like, this can't be real life.
Can't be real life.
This can't be.
Can't be real life.
But it was. And so one of the black ladies, Shanice, she spoke out and she said that she was told her twin flame was some guy who was already having a baby with another woman in a completely different relationship, not thinking about her. So imagine you're looking for true love. They tell you, oh, it's this guy who's already taken, or it's this guy from your past. And you just go with it. You just try to get them until they agree. And that didn't work for most of these situations.
That's not how you pursue people.
Honestly, after Keely and Colby, I didn't see one successful relationship in this whole John.
No.
And
even
so,
I wouldn't consider their relationship successful.
No, it wasn't really successful.
As they will reveal stuff about them, I'm like, and they just like Kobe just look. When I say this man looked miserable, like it's football season and you're in the nail salon, miserable. Like
they were having Zoom calls at all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and in the recordings, you could just see him sitting up there like this, like
not even look. Like she taking selfies.
He's like, yeah, I'm here.
And he just like looking the other way, like.
That was like the cry for help, like get me out of this cult.
Yo.
And so that's what I wanted to talk about as well with their relationship. Their relationship really opened my eyes to how much Jeff and Shaleia were pushing the whole sex thing. So Jeff would even say things like, men need sex every day. And Keely, he would push to the women that there was no option to say no. Essentially rape in your marriage. And so Keely said, when I didn't want to have sex, I felt shame and guilt. I would try to do the mirror exercise to heal my, quote, block. So you're fucking with these people's brains, making women accept rape from their husbands because they think they can't say no. Because your twin flame, and they promoted like twin flames have the best sex and all this stuff. Just ludicrous.
And they were real like I don't know, like him and his wife, Shaleia and Jeff were just really like off-putting.
They didn't look right.
Their interactions with each other was just real, like he just seemed like a real misogynistic, narcissistic, and like Shaleia was just real, like everything he said, she just kind of agreed with, but she was like kind of nasty too. Like,
yeah, you could see when she did try to speak against him, he would literally
you
tell
know
her
those
to shut up.
You know those couples that like sneak diss each other in the grocery store line. You just like, because they're including you in on it. Like,
Yeah.
It was kind of like that the whole time.
Exactly. But that's the thing. The group members felt like they couldn't speak out against Jeff and Shaleia because they were bringing all these people together and they were doing such great things, and so they felt like they knew more than we did.
Man, fuck them.
Yeah, I would have been off that Zoom so quickly.
I'd be like, fuck y'all. I don't like this girl.
Yeah. And so meanwhile, her little sister, again, she's following her sister. She's thinking, well, if it worked out for Keely, it has to work out for me. So she decided to get with this guy who was 11 years older than her. And she decided to move all the way to Utah after like 2 weeks. And she wasn't having a good experience. He was in and out of jail. He was having schizophrenic episodes. He had a criminal record. And so, she was really trying to keep this facade because, as we discussed, it was like your return to the group was to share your love story, to post about it, to let other people know there's hope for you too. And so she was trying to keep up this facade.
And I feel bad for her because she definitely, like, Marley will always be like crying during the Zoom sessions. Like, every time they asked her about something and she would be like, I don't know, like, I'm confused. We don't really see eye to eye on things. This is not the life I want. Like, they will be like, oh, that's just a block and you have to provide a better environment for your twin flame.
Right, blaming her. You matched this girl with an older criminal, and instead you decided to give her advice to create a better environment for him. Not realizing, maybe we're putting this young adult in a toxic situation. Instead, they're pointing the finger back to her like, no, what did you do to make it wrong? So I just wrote in my notes here, it's a bunch of hurt people hurting people.
Hurt people.
Yeah, and they the problem was, it started to click in these women's mind like, oh, this isn't healthy. They still weren't saying cult. They still didn't believe that they were in a cult, but they did realize, I'm not enjoying this arranged marriage.
Yeah.
And so the problem was nobody was speaking about it.
Yeah.
When they did try to speak up, they were shut down on the Zoom calls.
But eventually it became a thing where like the twin flame wasn't either I couldn't even get to my twin flame, or now there's legal issues between me and my twin flame, or me and my twin flame are miserable. So now we get to the Church of Union. Right? So in 2019, they have a second meetup in Toronto.
And if I can just share Angie's story from the meetup in Toronto.
Angie, I feel for Angie because Angie is this like middle-aged,
plus size woman,
Latino woman, and she's like desperate. Like,
yeah, unfortunately, she did give off like 40-year-old desperate vibes. And there's a lot of people in America who are looking for love, who are not, the traditional, how do I put this? I don't know how else to put this. She probably didn't have a lot of guys looking her way. I'm sorry to say. And so when you find a group like this and you see, oh, everybody has a twin flame out there, there's hope for me yet, you cling to that. And so she specifically, after going to the Toronto meetup, wanted Keely to be her coach. And I think that's a red flag, because now you're asking to learn from the head hot. Yeah. Basically, Keely and Colby were like Jeff and Shaleia's right-hand men.
So this is 2019. Yeah. So now even the second meetup is more people there. They're a little bit more established. Business is booming. So Jeff and Shaleia decide to make students work for them. So Angie is like first in line. Like, Angie's doing stuff for him. Keely's doing stuff for him.
They made Keely and Colby the CEOs.
Yeah, so they literally like putting everybody to work but paying them little to nothing. Yeah. In addition to Twin Flames University, they were still selling life purpose classes.
So now you can help me with my life purpose too. You can help me find my love and my life purpose. Okay.
So Jeff couldn't get people with the Twin Flame stuff. So then he came like with a spinoff business. And it basically like